and hand it off to Stacy for us to get started.
Hi, I'm trying to work out, hold on just one moment. I'm not going to keep my video on, but say hi to everybody. Hi. Mostly because my video will distract me and I won't do a very good job. But anyways, welcome to the most riveting topic of taxes. And I'm excited to present for you guys. And there will be a couple of places where we will discuss, like have time for questions. But let's just start it off, even though as people are coming in. I am Stacy Hart. I'm the financial coordinator for our East office in Spark Point, and I work for Brighter Beginnings. And my counterpart is Ingrid Alfaro. She is not here today, but she's in our West office in Contra Costa and works with Contra Costa College. So I have a quick question for folks, and the question is, how many of you have ever filed your taxes by yourself? You can either shout it out or put it in the chat if you'd like. I don't know why I can't see the screen. Never, okay. Anyone else? All right. Fantastic. And then how many people get nervous doing them by themselves? I know I used to. Yeah. It's terrifying, huh? Well, good news, it actually doesn't need to be as scary as it sounds. And so I'm hoping today, what we will do, today you should know a little bit more that will make you feel a little bit more confident as you start tackling your own taxes. So by the end of this presentation, our goal is for you to know if you should or should not file, have an idea of what filing status, because that is the biggest hurdle, and then kind of what documents you need, where you can file, how to avoid scams and high interest refund loans, and then how long you need to keep copies of your records. And I just want to reiterate, I am not a tax professional and I cannot give actual tax advice on how you can do your own taxes. That is up to a professional. I do want to say, one of the reasons I know this is the best way to learn how to do taxes is to become a volunteer income taxes assistance provider, a volunteer program, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. It's kind of a fun program if you like number crunching. I know some of you might be rolling your eyes. Okay, so the big question, it seems simple, but not everybody has to file, but everyone can. So you have to kind of determine whether or not it's in your benefit. But you do determine on your filing status and how much money you made. So if you were single, under the age of 65, and you made more than $12,400, you should file. Well, you have to file. Okay, if you're single and over 65, your income is more than 14,000. So if you kind of look at this list, it will give you a good idea of where you should, whether or not you should file. Sometimes though, if you are seeing, like, if you made less than the amount that's required, but you still had withholdings in you get a W-4 at the end of the year when they mail them out, or is it W-2? And you have some tax withheld, it can always behoove you to go ahead and file, because you might get a refund, or you might qualify for certain tax credits. That might be nice little extra cash for you. Also, another thing I just learned recently is if you're new to the country and you are looking to apply for your citizenship or your permanent residency cards, it is really important to file, even if you did make less than the income requirements, because I think you need to do it for 5 years in a row. Believe it or not, a filing status is extremely complicated depending on how many children you have, how long they've been living with you, how long your spouse has been living with you, if your spouse is still alive, and And the cool thing, these two websites will help you. They're very cool. If you guys want to copy those down, these two here, they will, if you put it in and you put in your situation, they will help you determine your filing status. The key thing that I like to tell people up front are two things. Determining your status obviously can be complex because they have like a whole tree, right? You can always use a very, very small print, but very helpful publication called Pub 17 from the IRS that will help you determine your status. And it gives you a lot of answers to common questions. A lot of people ask about married filing separately. And what I tell people is it is only used in very unique circumstances. It does not separate your household income. Like I've had people ask questions like, well, when they're determining our repayments on our student loans, maybe we should just do married filing separately so they don't determine both our incomes. That's not how that works. Your income still is a household income, regardless of how you file. And when you do married filing separately, you actually lose out on 98% of the tax credits. And so you actually will end up owing money. So if you can, and at all possible, you want to if you're married, you want to file jointly with your spouse. It's usually used in cases of fraud or tax liability. So if you think your spouse is committing fraud, that's when you want to use married filing separately. So that would be a great place to seek out a paid professional or a tax assistant to assist you. So the documents you'll need. You will always need your W-2s. And believe it or not, sometimes employers don't fill those out accurately. If your social security number is wrong on your W-2, you do not want to file until that is corrected by your employer. Because otherwise the tax benefits won't go to you. It'll get held up in the IRS machine cog and sit there forever and ever until it gets fixed. Any document that records any sort of income. So if you had miscellaneous income, say you did some Lyft or Uber, you want to have that form, the 1099 for that. If you had unemployment, there's another form, it's called 1099-G, which is your income from unemployment. If you had cancellation of debt, which a lot of people did during the pandemic, you'll probably get a 1099-C, and any interest you earned. And then for college students, two really important documents that you're going to receive from DVC or your college of choice is going to be a 1098-T and E. And I'll go over those in just a minute. You want to make sure you keep all of your receipts, your dependent care information, if you rent, your landlord information, if you own your home, all the documents that the mortgage companies send you. What I tell folks is that the more information you provide to the IRS, the better off you'll be. And if you're having somebody else prepare your taxes for you, they can only prepare what you send them or what you give them. They can't guess at your life. So you have to make sure you provide everything they need. And this year, you should get 2 letters if you have children, just 1 if you don't have children, regarding the stimulus and child tax credit that you received last year. Okay. So why is the 1098-T important to you? This is so awesome. You get to take helps you identify your eligible college expenses to receive some credits up to $2,500. So don't throw this form away. There are 2 types of education tax credits, and you may be eligible for one or the other. You can't take both, but you will definitely be eligible for one or the other. And how do you claim these? These tax credits are available to taxpayers who paid education expenses for themselves, their spouse, or even for your dependents. So to claim them, you need to make sure that you fill out the form 8863, which is an additional tax document when you're filing your taxes. Also, if you are paying on your student loans, which I know a lot of us are not this right now because they're forbearance, the interest you pay during the year, you can actually deduct that percentage of that from your adjusted gross income. But it is eventually phased out based on how much money you make. And you don't have to itemize in order to claim that, which is the very cool thing. If you find that you're missing your W-2s, now all employers should mail them out by January 31st, so everybody should have received them by now. And if you have not received them, the IRS is really handy, and they will send, and you can get a transcript of your W-2 because your employer should have already reported it to the IRS. Kind of a dark secret, the IRS already knows everything you're going to be putting on your tax return. They just want you to do it to make sure that you're accurate. All right, so we're going to take a quick break because I know that was a lot of information that I just spewed out at you. Are there any questions so far that you would like to ask? Did I lose everybody? I can't see. Let's see.
No, it looks like there are no questions at the moment.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
I don't know why I can't. This isn't showing me any, like it's hard to see the chat room. Okay. All right. Okay, where are we going? So a cool part of filing taxes is there are actually a lot of free options to filing your taxes. One of them is called the VITA program. It is a program that was put together about 45 years ago or so to help people file their taxes for free. And so basically the IRS takes their time and they train volunteers, people who are interested, and volunteers then are certified tax preparers and they can do your taxes for you. There is usually an income limit. This year, I do believe it's around 60,000. But if you go to that website, Earn It, Keep It, Save It, you will be able to find a site local to you, and it usually puts the income limits on it. There are also options if you don't want to have somebody do your taxes, if that's too stressful for you. There are places on the website, on the IRS website, and they'll have a list of places that are certified, well, that work with IRS for you to do your taxes for free. Of course, you can always use different softwares, and some of them have discounted rates based on your income, but usually they are paid at some point. And of course, there are the professional tax preparers and like Jackson Hewitt and H&R Block and individual tax preparers. With those ones, we highly recommend that you always ask for their total fees up front. They have a tendency to not tell you all their fees because they charge, some of them charge per page or depending on what credits you're applying for. So some tips and best practices when choosing a tax preparer if you decide to do that. One, if you can, ask for a referral from a trusted family member or colleague. A lot of these questions will be answered immediately. So if you know someone who's used their services and recommends them before, we'll recommend them to you. Make sure they have what is called a IRS tax preparer identification number. That way they're registered with the IRS and they have a little bit more credence and can be tracked should something hinky or untoward happen. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're educated or experienced. It just means that they have registered with the IRS. And their number goes on your tax return. So they can, like I said, so they can be tracked. Talk about what their credentials, find out how long they've been doing them, who trained them, are they certified, how long do they belong to any organizations, or they have continuing education. The more experience, the better, of course. Ask about fees up front. The IRS strongly recommends avoiding agents whose fees are based on your total refund, since it encourages some dishonesty and it kind of doesn't they don't include you in the process, right? That was a big problem for a while. I used to prepare taxes for free, and I would get clients who would come to me after they'd been to some of these big name places and found out that they were going to be charged $600 or $700 because of their refund amount. So if you present all your documents up front to a tax preparer, they should be able to tell you approximately how much their services are going to cost. Another key thing a lot of people don't realize, do not let your refund go to your preparer. Make sure and double check that the address where if you're going to choose to have your check mailed to you, that it is going to your address and not to your preparer, that they input, and if you're going to have it direct deposit, that you double check and triple check the account numbers, and make sure that it's not going someplace where you don't want it to go, because the IRS cannot intervene if your refund goes where it shouldn't go. Keep an eye on how they prepare your taxes. It's kind of complicated, and I know not everybody knows how to do taxes, but they should walk you through the process as they're doing it, and you should be able to ask questions and they should be able to answer them. A key thing is never sign your taxes until you completely understand and you're comfortable with the information on there. My brother and sister-in-law once had their taxes prepared by somebody who did it to the best of their ability, but didn't realize that both my brother and sister-in-law were employed by the same company. And so they only entered in my brother's income in their tax return, not understanding that they had both had W-2s from the same company. And so a couple of years later, my brother and sister-in-law ended up paying a couple extra $1,000 because a whole year of income was missed. The other thing is you want to make sure that they are able to help you with audit if you're audited. Make sure that they can come in and go over anything that might be hinky or look funny, or they could speak to the IRS on your behalf if you feel like you're a big flag for being audited. Make sure that you can contact them after you file or even after the deadline. If something goes wrong, you want to make sure that you can contact them so they can help you follow up to solve the problem. I'm missing a slide, so I'm going to add that slide real quick. If you guys are due a refund, there's 3 ways you can get your money. You can do direct deposit, and they have the option now of 3 different, you can choose up to 3 different accounts. You can do some US savings bonds. I have yet to see anybody choose that, but that is an option out there. Or you can have a check mailed to you, which is obviously slower. And I will say this year, the IRS is warning everybody that they're going to be very slow to get refunds out to folks. And then you can always double check where your refund is by going to the IRS website, and they have a big button on their home screen that says, "Where's my refund?" If you owe, you do have a few options. You can pay the tax bill when you file right then and there. You can also pay it on tax day. So for instance, I owed this year and I filed back in January, but they're not ready to accept my payment. So I will send in a payment in a little bit. Or if it's too much, you can set up payment plans, but just know that there are fees and interests, and it takes a long time to get out from underneath once you are in a payment plan. And then I also want to make sure that y'all understand that we have a Vita site at our Bay Point office, and they have a couple of things going on. If you go in person, there is an income limit, but if you're feeling confident to do it on your own, you can go to www.get, I'm going to put it in the chat room. To our online website where you can do your taxes by yourself for free. But you can also call that number and set up an appointment. Teresa runs our program, and she is lovely and amazing, and will help you get your taxes done and be able to help you with any additional questions that you have. Let's see. So that's all I have about taxes at this point. And I know I kind of went through that quick, but I wanted to remind folks that at SparkPoint, as SparkPoint clients, we do offer a variety of services on top of tax preparation. In one-on-one coaching with all of your financial goals, creating a budget, including increasing and working with credit coaches and career coaches, and all sorts of other, well, actually all sorts of resources. And then, how am I doing here? Why is this? So last but not least, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask regarding their taxes? I miss in-person chats.
Yeah, it looks like there's nobody.
No questions again?
Yep.
All right. Well, it will be, I know this presentation will be prepared.